Hi guys, here's a little video on how I built my studio. I'd never built a studio before and I just wanted to share with you guys how I did it and hopefully inspire a few people out there. So take a look at this. Okay, so I've been working as a sound engineer for about 10 or 15 years, but I'd never built a studio or anything like that. So I've got no building skills, I've got no carpentry skills or anything like that. I've never really built anything. So all of this was kind of just done YouTubing stuff and looking around on the internet about how to do it. So hopefully this is going to be inspiring for a lot of people because I needed a lot of that while I was doing the project. I was a bit worried that it wasn't going to be soundproof enough for one, with all the money I was spending, and it is, luckily. If you're outside the door and there's a full rock band playing at full volume inside, it gets it down to below conversational level so you can talk over it. For me, that's perfect because the neighbours are far enough away that they won't hear that once it gets to their property, which it doesn't. So all in all, it cost about $4,500 for all the materials. I didn't pay for any labour, and it took me a year. You could get it done a lot quicker than that. I wasn't working on every available day by any stretch. I was working and things in between, and also you could spend less money on it if you've got a lot of reclaimed materials and things like that. So I'm going to show you the process I went through to build the place. If you have any questions or want some more detail, then just ask me in the comments. And if you could like and subscribe this video, it would be really cool. It's my first video, first of many hopefully. So yeah, see what you think of this. Oh yeah, by the way, sorry, my narration on this is probably a little bit dull, but all the information is there, and you know, if you've got insomnia or something, you could just use it for that instead. Okay, so I'm going to take you through these photos and hopefully that gives you some idea of how I built this thing. This first one here, you can see the frame starting to be made, the stud walls. It's all made out of 6x2 timber. You could probably use 4x2, but I wanted it to be strong enough so that you could store stuff on the roof and have a platform up there that you could walk up there safely and whatnot. So I made it out of 6x2 and it's really, really strong. I've got tons of weight above it and it's no signs of it falling to bits, which is nice. Yeah, there you go. That's pretty self-explanatory if you know how to make a stud wall. If you don't, loads of videos on how to do that. It's really easy. Like I said, I've got no experience really in doing these kind of projects, but I've managed to do it by kind of YouTube videos and little bits I've picked up here and there. So this is a bit of a weird one. So the whole thing's built inside a unit, like an industrial unit. And so I've got a concrete floor to work from, which is nice. But it means that I wanted to build in the corner of the room. As you can see there, you can probably make out. So it was kind of a strange way of doing it. It meant that I actually had to build the walls first and then put the plasterboard on the outside of them and then push them into place. It's kind of a strange way of doing it, but I couldn't work out any other way of doing it because you need to get the plasterboard on the back side of the wall. So if I show you this little diagram that I made, it shows you the basic construction. The whole thing's made in this way, even the ceiling. So it's 6x2, as I said, the bit of wood in the middle that's made out of. This is a section 3 that I'm showing you, by the way. And then on the outside, you've got two 12mm layers of plasterboard with acoustic sealant between each layer. They fix onto the outside, and as I say, then all the walls got kind of pushed in. They were really heavy, they were hard to do, needed some help. So I made it into six sections of wall and then pushed them into place. And then to be careful they didn't fall down as well, so it was like making temporary kind of fixings for them and stuff as we went. Then on the inside of the structure, which you'll see photos of in a minute, I've got another 2 layers of plasterboard, but they're not fixed directly to the timber. They're fixed to these resilient hangers, which are basically like metal bars that run across the width of the walls, and they mean that the plasterboard isn't fixed directly to the joist, to the wood. So basically, because the wood is obviously wood, instruments are made out of it, it resounds, it rings. You want to detach your inside walls from that wood, otherwise the structure will start to ring more and essentially pass the vibration and the noise through the wall, and it won't be soundproof anymore. So the idea is to detach the plasterboard from the joist. So you'll see these hangers in a minute. They're quite simple, and they make the whole wall slightly springy. So the wall, when it's first done, you can kind of push it and it's got a little bit of give. So it's essentially a giant spring, all of the walls and the ceiling. It absorbs some of the sound energy rather than passing it through to the wood. Inside the stud, I've got 4 inches of thick insulation. It was RW5 that I used, which is a Rockwool product, which you can find online easy. And I can get the 4 inch, so I got the 2 inch and laid them 2 side by side. So it's 4 inches of insulation inside every one of these little quadrants that you can see. And you can see that as we go through the slides. Also, at the base of each wall, I put acoustic sealant between the boards and the floor, so the plasterboard doesn't touch the floor at all. It's kind of suspended on this acoustic sealant, which is basically like a kind of rubbery, like a bathroom sealant or something like that, but more springy when it hardens. So it not only does it seal, but it also it becomes rubbery, and that rubberiness, squidginess absorbs sound a lot better than if it was hard. So again, it's just stopping vibrations travelling from either the floor to the boards or for the boards to the floor. So it's kind of isolating your vibrations everywhere that you can. This is where you can see I've put some of the walls together. So it started to take shape, got 3 of them together there, and got some cross beam over the top. And then there's another photo of the same kind of point, and then that's how I built the walls on the floor, put the plasterboard on the back of them like that, and then sort of hoisted them up. Always need a second person to do that, as I say. And then as we got in further into it, got 5 walls up, and I've got these cross beams across the front, which are kind of stopping the whole thing from wobbling. To be honest, at this stage it was still a bit wobbly, as you can imagine, because they're quite heavy, the walls. So if you pushed it, it would just wobble. So it wasn't until like there was a full kind of structure all the way around and most of the way on top that it started to get kind of nice and stiff. And you see there, that's my mate helping me put the Rockwool into the Rockwool into those quadrants between the studs and the noggins there. So we had to measure each one, and because my measuring wasn't perfect, we had to measure each one and fill it with Rockwool, cut it to size and fill it with Rockwool. And it took ages to do that, to be honest, just to do that little bit. So yeah, this is again the same kind of point, but we're getting a bit more fleshed out. We've got all the walls on the side, and as you can see, I built the front wall in situ because it was just easy to do that. And started off with a bottom base plate, I think it's called, and a top plate, a bit of wood at the top, bit of wood at the bottom, and then the uprights where the door was going to go. And then I put like a double thickness one where the door was actually going to hang off, because the doors are going to be really heavy. So I made sure that both sides of the door there was like a double thickness upright, so it was nice and strong. And there you can see we've got most of the ceiling joists done. And then from inside, so I hadn't put the plasterboard on the outside walls there, but had done the ceiling, as you can see. Starting to put the noggins in there on the front wall, and that's the ceiling there. Putting all the noggins in there was quite tricky, as you can imagine. It took a while, and it was quite a knackering job because you'd always up and down the ladder all day. And then inside, nice isometric view there. We're starting to get the plasterboard on the outside now, so it's starting to become a room inside. My mate actually did that bit, putting the Rockwool in these slots at the top, because we had to do that before we were getting the roof on, because there wouldn't be room to do it afterwards. And this isn't even all of the Rockwool. This is most of it, to be fair. It's like a pallet and a half of Rockwool then. That bit there. That was a pain, just lugging that around. You can see I didn't get many photos of us doing the actual roof, but basically it's just 2 layers of chipboard on the top of the roof instead of the plasterboard, obviously, because chipboard, you can walk on it. And that actually stops the sound really well, to be honest. It's also all the way everywhere where the chipboard touches the stud roof, there's acoustic sealant. So it's essentially sitting on a bed of acoustic sealant, the first layer of chipboard. The second layer of chipboard goes the opposite way and is also sitting on a bed of acoustic sealant in the same way. So they're kind of all detached from one another. And it's all 18mm chipboard, so there's quite a lot of density there as well. The roof was quite a job. Yeah, it took basically it was 2 of us, and it took a day to do each layer. So essentially 2 days to put all those roof bits on. The whole thing measures like about 5.2 meters by 3.3 meters, and that's internal dimensions. And there you are, got the final bits of plasterboard on the front, starting to look like an actual room. And then started thinking about how to do the door. So basically just made a stud frame. So I had some leftover chipboard, and I had some other bits of wood. So I made a stud frame, and I made a backing for it out of chipboard like that. So it's just that. Got these big heavy hinges from Toolstation. They're really quite cheap, to be honest. Well, tenner each. They're really heavy duty for big gates and things. Filled the thing with rock wool like that. And then got this huge, that blue thing there you can see on it is this huge sort of 1.5 inch thick chipboard that's just really heavy. I had this massive slab of it that I got reclaimed, so I put that on the outside. So the whole door is like, it's a good sort of 5 inches thick, something like that. And it was so heavy, it took 2 of us to like lift it up and get it into place and whatnot. And it was a right pain. It was really, really hard to actually get it into place, get it to fit nicely. I had to didn't have to take it off, sorry, but I had to, because I didn't want to take it off because it was so heavy. I had to keep continually readjusting it and sort of planing little bits off of the door, off of the frame around it. I thought I'd accounted for, the fitting of the door and got it right beforehand. I had thought about it quite a lot, but it didn't work out as planned. As I say, I've never done any of this before, so there you go. As you can see, the door opens, which is great. There you go with the stairs. I started building some stairs. This was like when the lockdown started, basically. I bought all this wood just before, so I had tons of wood lying around to do all the other bits that were coming up in the project before everywhere closed. So I bought all this stuff to make the stairs with. So I've got some storage up there, basically, so I need to go up and down there quite often. And then again, I haven't got some decent photos of this, but I took 2 half-heartedly at the end of the day. Because it's a completely sealed box, I had to get the air in and out, and I can make another video on that if anyone wants me to. But until then, it's basically just a box, a labyrinth type structure, which takes air from the outside of the unit, so fresh air, and blasts it through the roof with a big strong fan, not just like a bathroom fan or something, but it's really pumping air in. And then the same on the other side. It's a labyrinth that's filled with rock wool. It comes in the roof in one corner of the room, and it goes out at the floor at the other corner of the room. On the inside, again, so I've not got any good photos of these, but I can always take some of how it looks now if anyone wants me to. This photo on the inside is of the inside door, which I made in a similar way to the other one. It's a built-up door from a small stud frame and a piece of chipboard, 2 pieces of chipboard, and loads of rock wool inside. And then it's covered in rock wool on the outside as well. As you can see there, that kind of shows it. It's a bit of a bad photo, sorry, but I had to build up from the original frame that was there, built into the inside of the room, because I hadn't planned ahead well enough, basically. But I had to build another frame inside the room attached to the other frame to then build this second door on for the inside. And so the way I did that was I just screwed through the wood basically, but I didn't want the wood to be touching the other wood, so I got this neoprene strips of rubber and I put those between the two frames and then screwed through them. So obviously the screws are touching through, but the timber isn't touching, it's pushing against this neoprene. So it took ages bugging about with the door and getting it to work well again on the inside. And it was like trial and error, and it was like, it was a few days, I'd say, doing just fitting the doors, just mucking about and trying to get my head around it. But in the end, it's all working really good. I've just got like a compression latch on the inside door, and I've got loads of seals, again, just cheap ones from Screwfix, from Toolstation, but they work really well. And because the door was pushing against the frame with this compression latch, which again wasn't expensive to get. And the outer door, the thick door, it's just got like a normal bolt across it. So you pull it, you can press it yourself essentially, and then push the bolt across, which again I can show in other videos if need be. Inside there, we've got all the acoustic soundboard on the inside. We did 2 layers again, but this time it was 1 layer of 18mm and 1 layer of 12mm. So we just went round and stuck it to the resilient channels, which you can start to see there on the roof. This photo shows that's the roof actually, but it shows it more clearly, the resilient channels and what they actually do, or how they're fitted. As you can see, they're sort of out of sync with all the studs and the joists, for good reason, because you don't want the vibration travelling across basically. So you sort of stagger it across, work out a pattern that works for your room, and then you're only attaching the plasterboard to the metal. The plasterboard doesn't fix through the joists at all. So essentially it's just hanging off of these hangers, which I thought was really weird, and because they're just like tin or something, they seem like completely they seem like they're not going to take the weight at all, but they totally do. There are 2 layers on the ceiling as well, and it's no problem. That needed 3 of us to do it though, to actually do the job. You can get tools that allow you to do it on your own, but I had some good friends, so that was handy. But we basically built a stage inside, because I've got some staging panels and things for my live sound stuff. We built a little stage inside the room, and then stood on that and had 2 people holding up the plasterboards and 1 person in the middle putting in all the screws. And again, that took us like a day to do each layer. And then some more. I was really keen with this roof and taking photos, wasn't I? You can see here, this is where the air comes in. So I just cut a hole in the rock wall, cut a hole in the chipboard above, and shoved this bit of ducting through. And then the labyrinth filter thing is just sitting on top of the roof. It's just, again, acoustic sealant held down with that, and then a few screws through. Pretty simple, really. You can see here's where I started to paint it. I just went a bit mental and just started drawing random patterns and then colouring them in quite mad colours. But that was quite fun. And you can see the door there where I've padded the inside door. And you can see where I'd started to put the carpet down. I just got a cheap carpet it's like a hard wearing carpet. I think it cost £100 for the carpet and the underlay. And I had some left over. And I just stuck it down with carpet tape. I wish I'd have used spray adhesive, to be honest. And here there's just 2 little photos I actually made the desk where the speakers and the computer and the racking go. That took, again, like a couple of days to put it all together and paint it. And I managed to make that out of a load of reclaimed wood, just some wood that my friend gave me. And then that was it. So it'd be really handy if you could like and subscribe down below. Write some comments. I'll be happy to answer any questions, or to do another video explaining things a bit better, or go into particular detail on certain things. It's my first video on this channel, so yeah, thanks for watching it. I will see you in a bit.